Hi, well, I promised, so here I am. I tried doing this yesterday. I was not brave enough to really go live, so there's an option where you can do like a live video on your own feed and have yourself as the only audience. So I did that, assuming that I could, save that and share it later, but I had major problems with that, so that apparently is not an option. So I'm doing this again, taking the risk of looking foolish, but I've read that that's what people love about live is that just the realness and the fact that it's not scripted, and people enjoy seeing the screw ups. So you'll see plenty of those, I'm sure. So this is for my Mary Kay personal group, my preferred customers. We've talked about whether we could benefit from having some live instructions, and I know we're all so busy and it's almost impossible to find a time where we can get together. Appointments are becoming, rarer, although I do have some opportunities. We can talk about that another time. But so I just thought that this might be fun and a way for us to connect. And obviously, if you can't watch it live, you can watch it later, which is really cool. So I am super new at this. This is the first one. I don't have any fancy lighting. My equipment right now is a napkin holder and a coaster holding my phone while I do this. So this is where I'm at. But we're going to talk about the Mary Kay Bear palette, which is, between you and me, similar to the Bare Minerals Naked palette. And I kid you not that the quality of Mary Kay is head and shoulders, well, I won't say necessarily above, but I mean, it is equal to, it can hold its own against any of those brands. It truly can in color payoff, in blendability, and yet we are so much more reasonable. You can buy the colors individually, and you're supporting, a local business rather than a huge conglomerate, and that money's coming back locally. So that's my little spiel about that. But, there's no shame in using Mary Kay. We are as good as, if not better, than all those other fancy pants brands. So I've got to adjust my phone a little bit. Sadly, to do this, the camera's down low, which kind of shows a little bit of this. But what are you going to do? I don't know how else to do it. And I've got my magnified mirror behind my phone, which means I'm going to be going like this to do some of my makeup, but I think that might be cool because then you'll be able to really see what I'm doing, or it's creepy. I don't know. We'll find out. So off go the glasses. Well, that might be too soon. Hold on. First, I'll show you what the palette looks like. These are the colors that we suggest. And obviously, you can put any colors. This is a custom compact. You can put whatever you want in here. But these are colors that we put together because sometimes people are overwhelmed. Like, well, what colors go together? I don't know what colors to put together. So these are some colors that we've put together and called it our Bear palette. And this is my palette, so it's obviously been used. But this would include Sweet Cream, which is a matte, Spun Silk, which is a shimmer, but it's a very subtle shimmer, Moonstone, which has a lot more shimmer to it, more pizzazz. Down here is Espresso, which is matte, Driftwood, which is darker than hazelnut. It's a relatively new color, and Rose Gold, which is another shimmer. So we're going to be talking about where would those kind of colors go, how would you apply them, etc. So I think now I'm really ready. I think I can, well, do I want to take off my glasses yet? Because I honestly can't see without them. I'm not joking. Okay, I guess I'll talk about brushes while I can read what's on the brushes, because that's cool too. So we do have a brush set. So here's the really cool pouch, and it comes with 5 brushes. But what's extra cool recently is that you can buy brushes individually, because today we're only going to be using the eye color brushes. And if you're new to using brushes, it's really helpful and clever that Mary Kay put right on the brush itself what the brush is used for. So let's see, we'll start with the big one. So there's like a big fluffy brush, and it says right on it, all over eyeshadow. This is the size brush that I would pretty much be using for almost everything that I'm going to show you today. I have lots of brushes, so you're going to see me using brushes other than these. They're all Mary Kay, but I've just been accumulating them over the years. If you had to use the same brush over and over, one option would be to use a brush cleaner in between colors. This is really cool, and it's only $10. You would spray this after you've applied, let's say you did your light highlight color, and you would spray this on, wipe it off with a tissue. It's not heavy enough to saturate it, so your brush is still dry, but it's clean and sanitary, and then you can dip into the next color, so that's really cool. So if you were just starting out and this was the main brush that you were using, that would be an option for you. So anyway, this is your all-over brush, and it's a little wider and fluffier. This one, I'll go to this one. This one is called your eye crease brush, and it has a different kind of a shape. So depending on how you hold it is how wide that's going to be. So like if you're holding it like this, you're going to have a more narrow arch, whereas if you're holding it like this, it's going to be wider, so that you can adjust the width of what's going on as you apply it. So since I am going to be trying to do what's called a cut crease, you want a little bit skinnier, but then when you just do more of a traditional, then you would do wider. So we can talk about that some more. And then finally, the third brush is an eye smudger brush. This one you can use for a lot of things, but what people traditionally use is to line your eyes, especially when you're doing a smoky eye. But we can use it for lots of things, and this is actually what well, I'll show you as we go. So there are 3 really cool eye brushes, and we actually have more than that. We've added to the line, so we can talk about that too. Okay, now the glasses can come off. Okay, so the first thing that we want to use is our highlighter. But first, let me preface with, I have put eye primer on all over both eyes. Eye primer is really, really important when you're using mineral eye colors. This is our eye primer. Mineral eye colors are more natural and, healthier, but they also tend to, it's almost like they absorb into the skin. So you really need something for the eye colors to hold onto, to cling to, or something to as your base. So, hi girls, thanks so much. We've got some friends visiting.
Practicing right now?
Nope. So anyway, so we've got the eye primer on all over both eyes. And then I also put a cream eye color on because I really like for the lightest color to show up really, really well. And so you need a base for that. So I have a pale blush cream eye color. I use this one because it's matte as opposed to shimmery. And then I put that like all over my eye from lid all the way up to my brow, just because I want to have an additional base for the color to rest on top of. I'm building on top of that color so that the color lasts and so that it has more depth and so that the light color really looks light. Okay, so now we can tuck that away. Okay, so now we're really and truly ready. So we're going to start with the lightest color, which is Sweet Cream. And it's a matte. I like to use matte because as your eyes mature, when you use a shimmery color, it can kind of draw attention to the crepiness of your eye. Now, some people disagree with that, and shimmers have advanced over time, and sometimes they can even make crepiness make an improvement in that. But for me, I think that matte definitely looks better. So I primarily use matte, and I might accent occasionally with shimmer, but it's really a personal preference. But you always want to use a light color when you're doing your highlight. Highlight is accenting. So I'm loading up my brush with the Sweet Cream highlight color, and I really pack it on, as you can see. And when I apply it, I'm pretty much like patting it or packing it again because it is very light, and you really need to get it on there. And I know that it seems as though it's not even making a difference, but it's really similar to my skin tone. So it doesn't seem like much right now, but as we add color, you'll see that it is really there. And then when I'm done, I usually go back and put a little more on top. So your highlight goes up underneath your eyebrow, on your brow bone, because we want to highlight or accent your brow bone. Brow bone, cheekbone, these are the things that you want to draw attention to, you want to emphasize, draw out. So highlighting is drawing out, drawing attention to, and I'll show you the difference between highlighting and what we want to take attention away from, which I've got plenty of that. All right, so we've got the sweet cream on, and I would have used that big fluffy all over brush for that. So then if for the mid-tone or the transition color, which is the color that you're working with, it's helping you to blend everything else. That is typically, it's an in-between. It's not really dark, it's not really light, and it's usually a natural color, so it's going to be somewhat of a skin tone, so it's going to be either in the beige family or pink or peach or brown, something in there. Hazelnut is probably our most popular mid-tone, but in this palette, I would say driftwood would be the mid-tone. You could use rose gold, but again, that's a shimmer, and I would save that for something more of a pop of color, but that's just my personal preference. But we're going to use driftwood for the mid-tone. With the 3 brushes that I showed you, I personally would probably use the wider brush because I have a larger area that I'm trying to push back, and I'll talk about that in a second. But there is a crease brush. This was the crease brush that we talked about. So there was a brush specifically for the crease. But my eyes are called hooded with age, unfortunately. And that means that over time, this part of my eye has started to come down, pull down, and is covering my actual crease. So when I use a crease brush, I am trying to create a visual crease, and I'm actually drawing it in higher than my crease, and I'm trying to push back this fleshy part by using a dark color. Like I said, the lighter colors bring things forward, and the darker colors sort of push things back. So maybe it'll make more sense when I do it. But, so I don't have a crease right here, but I'm creating a crease. And wherever you put your brush initially is where you're going to have the strongest deposit of color. So you want to start on the outside and come in, because if you start here, you're going to have a tendency to look cross-eyed. You want it to be darker and then gradually get lighter as you go this way. So I'm starting out here, I'm coming this way. I'm keeping my eye open because I have this heavy lid right here, and I'm not really going in my crease. Like I said, I'm going above my crease. So I need to be able to see what I'm doing. And it's all about blending. Like when people are new to eye color and they first put it on, there's always a gasp. Like, what? Oh my gosh, it's so dark. But it isn't. You just keep blending. If it is too dark, we've got lots of options. We can blend it out with the clean brush. We can take it off and start over. You can go over it with a lighter color. There's really nothing to fear. Okay, so this is my mid-tone, or my transition color. I've got color in my fingernail that does not look pretty. Okay, and then on this side, same thing. Now here's something too that can be really frustrating, is that, our eyes are really not exactly the same. Mine definitely aren't. And so it takes time to kind of get these balanced, and that's okay too. You just kind of, you make an attempt, and then you look at it and you keep going until it looks right. It's all good. There's really no such thing as right or wrong. This is a creative expression. And when I kind of realized that this is my creative outlook, it made me feel just a lot better because I always felt kind of weird that I don't knit or paint or do anything along those lines, but this is how I use color and how I express myself creatively, and I enjoy it. Okay. Good enough. So that's the mid color, the mid tone. It's a little darker than what I typically use. I usually use hazelnut. That is my favorite among Mary Kay. And since the mid tone usually is sort of a fleshy color, typically you would, well, I don't know. I usually only have one or two mid-tone colors that I go back to over and over. So, I can't obviously say that that's what everybody does. But your mid-tone, like I said, is going to not be your flashy color. That's not going to be, where the big focus is or the big powerhouse color. Oh, and I did want to say this. So that if you are someone who is just wanting to try two colors at a time, you would put your light color up underneath your brow bone like we did, like with the sweet cream. And then you would put this color, a driftwood or something similar, all over the mobile part of your eye, this almond part of your eye, and up into your crease, and you'd be done. So that's just a really simple eye look. And I also know that it seems weird putting that light color up so high, but, if it's light and natural, it doesn't look bad. It looks fine, I think. We'll see. Keep going. Okay, so we've done the light color, we've done the mid-tone, and now we're going to go for our dark color, which is called your accent. Your accent color is your pizzazz, your pop of color. That's where you're going to have either something that's bright or shimmery or really dark or just really fun. That's usually where the trend is shown. So if emerald green is really popular, that's where that's going to be, that kind of thing. There are several different ways to use your accent, but I'm going to show you what's pretty common, pretty typical, and then I'll show you a couple of other options after that. So again, the way that I'm doing this, you would probably use the all over fluffy brush for this particular application. So I'm loading my brush. If you get too much color on your brush, which is, very possible when it's a dark color, you want to tap it off. If you blow on it, then you're getting moisture into the bristles of your brush, and you're also blowing that pigment everywhere. When I dust my bedroom, I have a multicolored dust cloth, so I know of what I speak. Okay, so we've got color on our brush. I'm coming in here. Where I want to place my accent color, my darkest color, is in the outer corner. I've heard it called the outer V. I've heard it called the pizza slice. It's basically just this area right out here. And to me, the easiest way to think of it is just the shape of your brush. Just right where your brush lands, that's where I want that color to be. So I'm just going right in here, kind of patting it. And you can see it just left, right in there, like that, the shape of my brush. But we're not going to end there. We want to blend it out. Everything is about blending. So I've got this here. I kind of evaluate, is it too dark? Is it too much? What's going on? And I think, it's okay for what I want to do. So I keep that there. And then I still have a little bit of color on my brush. So I'll bring that in a little bit just to blend it with that mid-tone so that there's not like a really obvious start and stop demarcation. And we can clean up out here at the end too, because I know sometimes there's a little bit of stray makeup. Okay, so then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Just kind of put the brush like right where I want it to be. Simple. It really is simple. I think people overcomplicate it. And then we just kind of tap it in. And let me tell you, Mary Kay eye makeup blends really easily. And that's not the case with all brands, including the Fancy Pants brands. I've tried others just out of curiosity, I've been selling Mary Kay for 18 years. I've been using it for longer, over 30 years. And so every now and then I'll try something like, oh, wow, Urban Decay, Bare Minerals, whatever. And honestly, they'll have colors that don't blend well at all, and some that do. And I think, gosh, Mary Kay is just as good as, like I've said. And so I've just always been really impressed. Like that was easy. There, trust me, this is awesome. Okay, so that's good. Okay, so let's see. So we've used our highlight color, a mid-tone, and then our accent color. But I want to kind of use all of the colors so that you can have an idea of what you can do with all of these different colors. So I'm going to use rose gold, which is this fun color right here. It's got some shimmer. One trend that's happening right now is to put color like right in the middle of the mobile part of your eyelid, just literally like a little, almost like a circle, so that you still have light on one side, the little bit of color, and light on this side. So I would use kind of a smallish brush. Get my rose gold. And then you're just going right in the middle. Now if this were a brighter color, you would be able to see much better, like if it were amber blaze or something like that. But this is a pretty tame color, but it is pretty. And again, I don't know if I want to point this out or not, but my eyes are crepey because of age. So when I put that shimmer on there, it does kind of show that a little bit more, but I'm willing to do that just for your benefit. All right. We'll put some on the other lid right here in the middle. So that rose gold, you could actually, use that as your mid-tone because it is, kind of a middle of the road as far as intensity, like the depth of the color, the darkness of the color. But it's shimmery. So like I said, for me, I wouldn't be crazy about shimmer up in there. You could use it as your accent because not everybody wants an accent as dark as this. So you could use that out there. Why? Because it does have the shimmer, so it does have a pop. So that's a fun color to play around with. So we've used those, and let's see, now I think I will show you something I would do with Moonstone. Moonstone is this up here, and like I said, shimmers, gosh, there's so many different ways to say that. There's shimmer, luster, let's see, pearl. It used to be called frost back a million years ago. But this has a lot of shimmer in it. There's a lot of reflection. And so for me, I'm limited in where I would put that. I like it way up high because I don't have any wrinkles yet up here. So I might put that, way up here. But another fun thing that you can do is to just put it like right in the inner corner of your eye, just to brighten that inner corner. That's kind of a little professional, secret that I guess it's no secret because it's all over YouTube and whatnot, magazines and everything. But, when you read those little hints and stuff like that, don't feel like, oh, I'm not real glamorous. I'm not going to try that. That's not something I would do. Just do it, whatever. Just try it. So you just kind of put that in there, and it just gives it a little, a little bit more brightness. That's fun. And like I said, you could also, let's just do it. You could also just kind of put that up here. Wow, can you tell the difference already? It just gives it just a lot more iridescence. The light catches it. So like if you are in, photographs like for a wedding or something and you really want your makeup to show, that you might want to go that extra step right there. Okay, so then the only one that we haven't talked about yet, and it's not because I don't love it, because I do, is Spun Silk, which is this one here. Obviously I love it because it's almost gone. Spun Silk, what I love about it, it's a really pretty color. It's not matte. It is a shimmer, but the shimmer is subtle enough that it still has a smooth look to it. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. And it's got enough color to it that it shows up on me. Whereas the Sweet Cream, I said how you could really barely see it. This spun silk is going to show up better. So like I could go back over in here in this middle area with the sweet cream. Normally that's what I would do because I told you that I like to go back over my highlight color again at the end. But just to show you what the spun silk looks like, I'll go over that area with spun silk. And obviously I got a whole lot of colors going on in here. So you're not seeing its true shade, but you're kind of getting an idea, somewhat of an idea. And at this point, you know, when I look at what I've done so far, whatever I don't like, I can just adjust a lot of times with my highlight. You know, if I feel like you know, it's not even in here, you know, I'll just take my highlight color and kind of play with it until I feel like I've evened it out. Or if I, you know, feel like something's not right out here, you know, I might want to, you know, smooth it out like that. So it's always a work in progress. Like there's no such thing as perfection, you know, at any point. It's like you're just constantly working with it and making it what you want it to be. At this point, I usually have the biggest brush of all, and I keep no product on it. It's just like a clean, fluffy brush, and then I go in and just kind of clean up anything that might have gotten in there that I don't want, and then it also blends these colors. I don't do this all the way. I just do it just in here because I just want to keep this area clean. And again, how I said, like if you have a lot of color in the middle, how it can kind of make you look cross-eyed. It's really interesting. You know, you learn a lot of that kind of stuff. You know, the tricks that light can play and the difference between dark makeup and light makeup and where it's located and where the deposit of color is and all that stuff. It all makes a difference. So like, you know, when you feel like, wow, eyeshadow never looks right on me, there's a reason why. And so, you know, if it's something that you want to wear, you know, I can pretty much guarantee we can figure out what the problem is and fix it. So, I don't know. To me, it's fun to figure out and work with. And so, anyway, that's what I'm here for. Okay, so we have a lot of great liners. And typically I do use our eyeliners. They are waterproof and they have a really nice smooth line. A lot of eyeliners tug because they're waxy. And if they're not waxy, then they're the opposite and they smear everywhere. Ours are neither one. They're smooth, they line really well, they last all day. But lately I've really been enjoying a softer, more natural lined look. I'm looking for here we go. Okay, and so of the brushes that I showed you at the beginning, these three brushes, you would use your smudger brush to do something like what I'm about to do, but of course I'm using my other brushes. Okay, so on top, I would take a dark color like espresso. If I were doing this with my other palette, I'd probably actually use coal, something really dark. But I want to line, you know, this top. And I've heard that you always line the top. You don't have to line the bottom, but you always line the top. You don't want to go topless, is the expression I've heard. So you want to line your top lashes, and you want to get really, really close to your lashes, so close that it tickles. You want, you know, don't want any of the skin to show. You don't want there to be a gap. It's almost like you imagine yourself coloring the root of your lash rather than coloring, you know, your skin. If you can try to imagine that, it might help you get in the right spot. And then I kind of went back and did it again because I didn't think it was dark enough. Okay. So it lines it, but it's just still soft. It's not super obvious or harsh in my opinion. Okay, so I just did something that's kind of naughty. I'll talk about that after I do this because sometimes I can't think and talk at the same time. Okay. Sometimes I'll hold this, like to hold it steady, and that's okay, but your skin around your eye area is very thin and very delicate, and so if you're tugging and pulling or rubbing or whatever, you are going, that area will age faster, truly. So you really need to break that habit. So if you are someone who's constantly touching your eyes, or pulls your eye way over in order to get a straight line, that kind of thing, you need to start thinking that through and finding a different way to do that because you want to start pampering this area. It is the first area to show signs of age. It needs extra moisture. It doesn't create moisture on its own. It doesn't have any oil glands. And dang, isn't that? I'm getting my hair done in a little bit, so don't worry about me. All right, and so then underneath, I would do something lighter, so I'm going to use the driftwood. And even though, it looks like wow, that's really, too big to line with, it's just kind of cool how it all works out. Because you're just going for just a soft look. My eyes are droopy. They tend to kind of, point down, I guess. So I don't go all the way across. I tend to I like everything to be up. So I just go just kind of in this outer area, and then I even bring that color up. I guess I'm just always thinking up, up, up. So I want this to look ultimately like it's drawing your eye up. When you look at me, I want your eye going up so that it makes my eyes look like they're going up. Does that make sense? Probably not. Okay, so we better do it on this side. Wow, look at this. It's like I've got this makeup, not dirt. Okay. And I put on mascara ahead of time, but right now, because all this powder is like kind of getting on my mascara, it doesn't look as good as it could and should. So obviously at this point is when I would really put on my mascara, and then I would dazzle you like you wouldn't believe. Okay, well, we don't want to be here all day, but, so that's that. Okay, and I can already see, so like I've got some fallout, I think is what it's called. I've got some, on my nose and whatever. There are all kinds of things. There are actually like makeup guards that you can buy that you put on here and, take off when you're done. But I don't know. I don't really use anything that fancy pants. But I've used that word like 3 times. That's uncool. Okay. And then for my brows, I actually use one of our eye colors as well. I use hazelnut to fill in my brows. And even though it's an eye color, it's not marketed as an eyebrow, filler or anything. Even when I sweat or cry or whatever, it does not run and it lasts all day. And I really like it. So I recommend our eye colors even for brows. So anyway, so that is our Bear palette. A few suggestions on where to put the different colors. This adorable little compact is $17, and what's super cool about it is that it's magnetic. So if you only wanted to put 1 or 2 in there, they'll fit in there comfortably. They're not going to be rattling around. And then as you use up certain shades, you can refill them as you need them, as opposed to the compacts that you have to buy the whole shooting match because you ran out of one color. That's so irritating. But then also this lifts up. The colors lift up so that you can put your brushes or sponge or whatever underneath. We do have smaller brushes that you can buy to fit, put right in there. I think of those as more like my on-the-go brushes. That's not something that I use every day. I like my real brushes. So I think we've covered everything that I said we were going to cover. So, all right, so that's that, and hopefully you learned something. This was really meant for people that don't know much about applying eye colors, so for those of you that are really savvy and are thinking, wow, I didn't learn a darn thing, I get it. But I have had a few customers just say, I wish that you could just kind of show us a few tips and tricks and, what colors go together and why do I put this here, and so that's who this is for. And so hopefully that answered a few questions. If you want to comment and let me know if it did answer any questions, or if I left things unclear, or if you have an idea of what you want to talk about next. Any of those things would be very much appreciated. So thanks for your time. I hope it was okay. Okay, and I guess that's it.